Right now we are talking about the 23rd Senate District, formerly the district of Tom Dempsey out in St. Charles County. 3 Republicans currently running in the primary for that race: Ann Zaire, Bill Eigel, and Mr. Mike Carter, who's an attorney in St. Charles County. Mike, how are you, sir?
Real good. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine. Good to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. You sent out a press release this morning, and the headline is that you are self-funding your campaign and not taking any donations at all. Tell me why that's important to you.
Well, I've been fortunate on a couple of elections that I've ran in, including the judicial spot that I hold now out in St. Charles County, to really have just been able to self-fund all of my efforts. I haven't won every campaign that I've ever ran, that's for certain, but the ones that I have, it's really nice to be in an elected position and have nobody who thinks that they may be able to give me a wink or a nod or a secret handshake or anything like that. It's just me and what I believe in, and whatever people voted for when they put me in, that's exactly what they're getting. And I think that's just the best way if you can do it. I've been kind of a Ross Perot guy since 1992, kind of fell in with the concept, and I never knew if I'd be able to afford to do it, but I'm getting closer.
All right. And you currently serve as a municipal judge in Wentzville?
Right.
Okay. All right. And you've got your own law office, correct?
Right.
Okay. Good. So what motivated you to run for Senate?
I have kind of spearheaded in St. Charles County, really originally as the Wentzville judge after I stepped down. They had a red light camera system there and saw how it was pilfering the citizenry, and there were a couple little instances. One was where a dad had gotten a ticket for his daughter's red light camera or something, but it was clear there was a woman driving, and the prosecutor said, "Oh, we can dismiss it. Just bring your daughter in here, and we'll release you, and we'll bring her and put her in the in the crosshairs." And it just smacked of a lot of money mongering and that kind of thing, and didn't like it. And I really kind of knew firsthand with the city mothers and fathers, who are no longer there, by the way, what their drive behind that was. And I took that, ran with it, and eventually helped Joe Brazel and some others in St. Charles County ban red light cameras countywide. And I've been pushing, I'm getting to your point here, for a statewide ban with Representative Brian Spencer, and I met with Tom Dempsey, who was very gracious to me a couple times, to kill some bills that would have legitimized red light cameras statewide instead of banned them. And I just spent more and more time with senators and Congress or representatives in Jeff City, and I just got to thinking, I'm learning how this works. I like it. I'm up here almost as much as a state representative sometimes, or a senator, and I can do this.
Well, the whole red light camera thing always struck me as odd, because the people behind the companies, or at least the people who were being paid by some of the companies, had a lot of law enforcement connections in the St. Louis area and political connections, and I don't know, it just never struck me as the fact that it was being done for the right reason. I just always felt it was a revenue generator, period. It was never about safety, although they argued otherwise.
Well, they would come in and give presentations, and actually they weren't very shy about it at first. In fact, hats off to the people in Hannibal, Missouri. Their mayor there has always been very forthright, saying that if we take out our red light cameras, we're going to fire 11 cops. And the way that he's gone about it has been very transparent. I still don't like it at all, but his presentations that they would bring in to the city fathers and mothers and St. Peter's or Wentzville or wherever it might have been, they actually will tell you, here's the code language that we talk about. We're going to reduce accidents. It's all about safety. And even though, by the way, you're going to also bring in another $1.2 million in the next 5 years.
Oh, yeah, by the way, this will happen as well.
Right.
We're talking to Mike Carter, who's one of the 3 Republican primary candidates for the 23rd Senate District in St. Charles County. Mike, let me get to the Senate Joint Resolution 39 issue, which was the religious liberty bill. How might you would have handled that had you been on the subcommittee who had to vote whether or not it got out of committee or not?
I think, kind of having investigated it, I know Dr. Onder, or Senator Onder now, is a lawyer and a doctor and about as smart as you can get with regard to crafting legislation. I know he put a lot of thought into it. And I think his number one beef, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't talked with him for 1 millisecond about it, but there in Oregon, that Bureau of Labor and Industries tried to find those individuals who had decided that they weren't going to, provide services or actually product to a certain demographics of individuals, or in that case, a specific set of individuals, and they exacted a fine of some type of, I don't know, 50 to 150,000, and they had to appeal it, and they went through a lot of legal expense. And I think what Senator Onder wanted to do was make it to where the state itself, in those situations, there would be no bureau or agency that could come in and find somebody to modify behavior on the part of the business owner. And to that extent, I would have had no issue with it as far as making sure that a state can't come in and fine you for having done that type of thing. On the other hand, as a lawyer kind of looking at the situation and some of the chatter that has arisen out of the discussions with regard to contractual performance, for instance, somebody comes in and they order a cake, and you say, yeah, that's cool, and you've got a contract, but you show up to their, one-gender wedding, and you don't like it, and you say, well, sorry, I'm taking my cake back to my shop. Well, you can't do that. That's, against contract law, and I know Dr. Onder knows that too, so I'm hoping he didn't mean that. It looks like, looking at the bill itself, it doesn't mean to go that far, but it kind of spiraled out of control. And then I guess additionally, kind of building on the chatter that's come from it, is I fear some slippery slopes sometimes where if you get somebody like, I think we passed in Missouri a bill or a law against implementing Sharia law at any time, and I think that's a good thing. But if you would end up with somebody who is of that faith or of that belief working at McDonald's or somewhere, or a Deerberg's meat counter, and they decided after they got hired that they would then let you know that, well, I can't handle pork, even though you hired me and you weren't allowed to ask me my religious preferences or anything, but now you've effectively got an employee that's getting $28 an hour, but all I can do is sweep and do other things. So I want to make sure that a bill like that doesn't get misinterpreted or misconstrued and end up having unintended consequences. But to the extent that it does prevent a state agency from coming in and trying to modify a behavior by their ability to exact fines and penalties, I would have agreed with it. And I'm sorry about that long-winded explanation.
No, that's all right. So probably as it stood, you might have been a no vote. Had it been modified a little bit, you might have considered supporting it?
I think, it looks pretty good on its face. And if I told you that I was a scholar on the bill and knew it back and forth, I'd be lying. But looking at it at a cursory level, it looks like he's done a pretty dang good job of just making sure a state actor can't come in and penalize somebody. And to the extent that I was comfortable with that, I would do it.
Great. We're again talking to Mike Carter, state Senate candidate out in St. Charles in the 23rd District. Mike, how about right to work? I know that's also been an issue. Would you support a right to work bill in the state of Missouri?
When I was campaigning door to door for judicial office, many people would ask me about that. And one of my standard replies typically was that, I knew a lot of baggers when I was 15, 17, 18 years old at Schnucks, and they take money out of their paychecks, and I just never could, even as I got older into my 30s and 40s, conceive of a real way to understand how a bagger who's 16 years old is benefiting from the union dues that are coming out of his paycheck. Now, and do they have the sense to figure out if they want to pay him or not under what would be a right to work provision, I guess. And my sense is that there's certain areas where definitely the benefits of union membership seem to be de minimis, but there are other areas where I know that had we not had unions, from the beginning of time back to the Upton Sinclair Jungle Book days and things, there would be issues. And I'm glad that they are there and that they have the ability to have a voice in government and society in general. So I haven't fully figured out my stance on right to work as it stands, but my inclination is that if someone can make a choice about whether they're able to enter into a contract with their employer and the employer with the employee, I like that. And if it's a full knowing decision and right to work allows that to happen, I'm for it.
All right. Good. I appreciate that. And so you're going to participate in the debate that's coming up on May 16th?
Yeah, I believe it's at nighttime. I
Yes.
talked to Dan Rakers today about it. It's my intention to go. I learned about it probably 71 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Well, I'm glad that we're going to get good attendance out there. We're going to put something up on our website so people know when and where, and hopefully you get a good turnout. Mike Carter, candidate for 23rd Senate District out in St. Charles County. thanks for joining us today, and best of luck.
Hey, I'll need it. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Take care of yourself.